boy. Gotta copy links. Gotta do my thing. What? Okay. Hello, people. Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm here. I was just sitting there and I couldn't draw anything, so I was like, no, we're gonna stream. Haven't done that in a while. Oh, goodness. God, every time I record, I have to put my headphones in, and I don't know why. Like, I'm not even listening to anything, but I always put headphones in for some reason. It's just a habit. So yeah, we're gonna give it a minute before I start asking questions. I don't know. Oh, goodness. Ah, goodness. I screamed loudly when I saw the notification. I'm glad you get excited. Don't hurt yourself. Oh, goodness. Hello. Makes you feel better. It does. I enjoy streaming quite a lot because it feels just like having it feels like having a conversation, but you don't have to worry about starting it, if you make sense. Like I love having conversations with people. I love talking about things I enjoy and whatnot. But I always never know where to, like, how to start a conversation. It's just really hard, or start a certain topic. So I like having a live stream where I can basically just record, like I can just turn it on and go. It's kind of nice, and it feels like you're having a conversation with a lot of people. And I don't know. I think it's fun. So, yeah. It's good. Oh, goodness. Is there 80 people? That's kind of crazy. I mean, 70 people. Well, I know I'm gonna lose quite a few before, before it's over, but that's whatever. So yeah, but I love live streaming too much, probably. I want to do, just so you guys know, I'm just rambling right now because I like to wait before I start whatever topic the stream's about, just in case anyone's like waiting to get in. But yeah, so honestly, I once tried to make a Patreon reward that was for doing like Patreon live streams, but unfortunately I don't have the ability to schedule those, because 99% of the time when I live stream, it's on a total whim, and schedules don't work very good for me. And it's also hard because a lot of my life does kind of revolve around what other people are doing. So things can spring up on me and surprise, and so it's hard for me. So I had to just take that away as a Patreon reward because, yeah, it's just it doesn't work. Ever want to do Stram commissions? I do want to do Stram commissions someday, but I need to see if okay. Technically, there is an option on like my iPad to where I could possibly live stream, but I haven't played with that, and I don't know how that would work, or if that would even work well at all. So I need to experiment with that and see if that's something I could do. I'm going to be totally real. I've basically just given up drawing on my computer at all. I just draw everything on my iPad at this point, which is fine. It's just, I don't know why. I've gotten so used to my iPad. It's like drawing on a tablet on a computer is almost tedious to me, and I don't know why. Why are there 90 people watching this trash? Anyway, but yeah, and so I really just use my computer to animate, quote, animate, as in the only thing I've been animating, quote unquote, on my computer right now is this animatic that's going to take me 5 years to finish, I swear to God, because I am not consistent ever. So yeah, it's great. It's a swell time. And, but yeah, I do want to do stream commissions at some point because those always seem fun. And I've always wanted to kind of stream more art in general, but again, it's because I want to keep drawing on my iPad constantly, so you know how it is. But I don't know. Maybe if I can figure out how to make it work on my iPad, I've heard it's possible. So that would be swell. So yeah. Okay, so 5 minutes, there's my cue. Why are there 92 people watching this? Why? I mean, I know a lot of you are gonna poof once you see how like boring it is, but like Jesus Christ. Anyway, so yeah. So now that we're officially declaring this the start, if you guys want to ask questions and stuff, just say like at TheZodiacLord question and then ask your question. And again, I have to say, this is a character stream where I talk about my stories. So chances are I'm not gonna answer unrelated questions. I might, but I don't. That's just generally I don't do that. It's just that's not what the stream's about. So oh my god, there's 100. Why? Oh my god. I'm gonna die. Oh gosh. Oh goodness gosh. Oh gosh. Who was your first OC? Oh boy. First tangent of the day. Let's go. So, gosh. Okay. So my first OC ever, or at least my first proper OC that I would deem as, in my memory, the first character I could remember ever actually having, was this character I had named Star, who was your very typical fucking overpowered, really bland character. And originally she was just kind of a self-insert that I inserted into everything, and because that's when I was a girl, just so we understand that. So originally she used to be a... Sorry, I'm going to go on a whole tangent about this because this is actually something I've been really into recently. So, sorry, first tangent of the video is going to be a long one. But, or video stream, whatever. But so anyway, so I had Star, and originally she was just something that like every time I would watch a movie or read a book or get into anything, why are all of our first OCs so OP? Because you don't know how to make a character. It's like with everything. The first one's always bad. It's a skill that characters are just as much of a skill as anything else in life. So let me just tell you, there's a reason why all our first characters are typically bad. So yeah, sorry. That was just a side thing I read and I wanted to address that. But anyway, so, oh goodness. So yeah, so Star was my first character I ever had. And at first she was a self-insert that I answered to everything I ever saw. But then I actually made a full story for her. And because I was such a fantasy doofus, that story was a big fantasy story, you know, whatever. And it was really bad. It was just, there were some good things I like, and there's actually things you can see in that story that have carried over into all my other stories. For example, the main villain of the whole story was a character named Solstice, who looked like she was designed to be a good character, like a good person, and then she's a total evil bitch. And yeah, so there's that. And then you had, oh god, ironically, so Star had a twin sister, and this is important for what I'm about to address. She had a twin sister named Eclipse, who was basically my edgy self trying to be edgy. And, you know, she was all black and red and super edgy and whatnot, which she actually had a decent backstory. Eclipse was 110 times better and more fleshed out than Star ever was, because here's the thing you need to know about, because I'm about to address more forward about that. So Star she had a very bland personality, but in my mind, the only consistent character trait she had was that she loved her family, and she always wanted to be the hero. She had a very big hero complex that never got properly fleshed out, you know. Micro Toaster, stop spamming the chat. So yeah, and so what was I saying? Okay, so yeah. So she had a hair, like, that was basically the only traits that ever stayed consistent. And even that wasn't really, like, explored very much. And as for, in the important part of addressing this, there was also a character who was dead when the story starts, quote unquote, even though it was never written down, where they had a younger brother who died. So yeah, that was my first story ever, and there's a lot of, like, really cringy stuff and a lot of really poorly developed, poorly fleshed out stuff. You know, but fun fact, that's actually a story I've been reworking on recently, so it makes me very excited. I have a huge Google document where I decided that I was like, okay, you know what? I don't have a proper story where I just sat down and just fleshed it out and made it super complex and super developed. And I don't have that yet. Like, I don't have basically, I like to call it my Lord of the Rings story, you know, where it's, like, super world buildy, which, like, I kind of have that ish, but I don't count Luniverse because Luniverse is a fucking mess. And, 7 Cents and a Baby is very made up as I go, for lack of a better term. So I don't really consider those. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to turn this story. Originally, it was called, War of the Sky, and then War of the Heavens, and then, yeah, because I'm lame. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to build this story from the ground up, and I'm going to make it my big world building story. So that's what I've been working on. And I have a Google document, and it's just filled with bullshit. I have so many gods, because I wanted to have a whole god system, because religion is fun. Religion is fun in stories. And also because it's a very central theme in heaven. Because now the story is called The Heavens Proxies. So the gods are obviously a very central part of the story. And I decided to make a thing where it's like, okay, what if every god had its own species? And then, like, each species is unique and whatever. So I have that. And so now there are... how many are there? There's probably about... I think by the time I'm done, there's gonna be at least 20 species that are, like, sentient and whatever. And I'm like, oh, goodness. But I'm having so much fun doing it. So, you know, and then I have reworked the basics on what our now three main characters are. Because instead of, what I did with Star and Eclipse was that Eclipse has generally stayed the same. For the most part. Only Eclipse is a dude now, because I thought it would be fun if I was like, okay, you know what? I could keep them as girls easily and just fix their characters, but I thought it would actually be kind of symbolic, since I made Star and Eclipse as self-inserts, if I just switched their genders, since now I'm trans. And so they're not anything like me. They're not self-inserts anymore, but I switched the genders to be symbolic. So Eclipse has basically stayed the same and is just a dude now. But Star has actually split into two characters, because I felt like, because I liked Star's design as a whole, her personality was trash. So I decided, okay, you know what? We're going to give Star's general aesthetic, and we're going to make something with that. And then we're going to take what little personality she had, and we're going to make a better character out of that. So her personality and her general main characterness was given to Comet, who is now the main character, and Star has basically taken the place of their younger brother and become their younger sister, who's like 15. Anyway, but yeah, so sorry. Yeah, so this is my long tangent, but I'm really excited because I'm going to actually post my world building trash online, because it's not going to be a spoiler. It's probably not going to be something that I post, like, that I'm going to post or create anytime soon. But I love, I'm having so much fun with it. It makes me so happy to rework this fantasy story of mine and make it good. So yeah, anyway, end of a long tangent. I'm sorry that had to be the opening to the stream, that I had to go on a 10-minute tangent, but it's just something I'm very happy about. And now you have another story to ask questions about, I guess. But yeah, so can ask other questions now. How long ago did I first make Star? That was a long time ago. I'd say when I was in middle school, probably. Like early middle school. Question, how old were you when you started drawing / when you started writing? I've been drawing since I was young. I've always just kind of liked drawing and doodling on the back of papers, but I always say that I never really got consciously into drawing until I was in middle school, until I was like in 6th grade. And I was like, yeah, I want to do this drawing thing because there were other people doing it and I thought it was super cool. So yeah, I got some drawing books and that's where I began. And as for when I started writing, I don't really know. I think it just kind of happened. Realistically, when do you think you'll start Looniverse? I genuinely don't know. Not anytime soon, but I definitely, realistically, I probably wouldn't start Looniverse until 7 Cents and a Baby is either over or close to ending, and I feel like I have a grasp of what I'm doing, and I'm in a position where I can actually make Looniverse. But at the same time, I wouldn't be posting Looniverse as I made it, like I did with Seven Cents and a Baby. I would definitely get at least 1 or 2 chapters into Looniverse before I started posting anything, because Looniverse is the story I'm a lot more serious about. So that probably is not going to be something that happens for a long time. But that's also why I post a lot of the stuff about it, because I like doing it, and it's very easy for me to avoid spoilers while still posting characters. And most stuff is still subject to change right now. So, yeah. Which one of your characters is your favorite? It would depend on what story. I have so many characters. Sometimes I have favorites in specific stories, but also generally I will usually have a favorite in a specific group, so within a story. So I couldn't tell you what my favorite character out of all of my characters is, because I don't really have one out of all of them. Where do you get your inspiration? I'm an art blog forever. I get it from a lot of places. Music, videos, other art pieces, just I get it everywhere. I don't have a set place I go for inspiration. And honestly, you shouldn't have a set place where you go for inspiration, because eventually it's going to run out. So, what are some of your favorite salty fandoms? I don't know what that means. I don't know. I guess not. Are you doing NaNoWriMo this year? I might. But also, Mitchie has encouraged me to the fact that I should use NaNoWriMo to edit the book I wrote last year for NaNoWriMo, because I haven't done that. So that might be what I do, because I really want to edit it, because you know what? I could totally publish that book, because I believe it is decent enough for my first book to be my first book. But I haven't edited it, and I need to do that. So yeah, so it's not some award-winning story, but it was fun and I'd love to publish it. So yeah. So I might, but I might also use NaNoWriMo to work on the first one I did. So, is there any advice you'd give to people creating a story with over 10 characters at since you have a wide range of characters, it only makes sense to ask you. I guess it depends on what your problem is, because I don't know any advice off the top of my head that could be helpful, because again, it depends on what you're going for. It depends on what those characters are doing, because there's a difference between if you have over 10 characters and they're all main characters, or if you have over 10 characters and there's still like a small group of main characters and then a lot of other characters. So you'd have to be a little more specific, I guess. Sorry. Okay. I should say this again. If you want to, you can repeat questions if I miss it. Just don't spam. So yeah. Any weird, creepy, questionable encounters that have happened in your life, like a house person or anything? Nothing I can think of off the top of my head. And nothing I would talk about in depth in the stream. So, yeah. What would the 7 Cents swear for Halloween? Well, the one thing I know for certain is the fact that the joke always was that Lust would totally wear like a nun outfit. Not a sexy nun, but just a straight up nun, because he thinks it's funny. I know that for sure. I know some of them probably wouldn't even care for Halloween and whatnot, just because of their backstories and trash and then whatever. One of them would probably wear different things for Halloween. I'm not sure. Oh, goodness. If you had to change one thing about any of the 7 Cents and Seven Sins and a Baby characters, what would it be and why? Is the question if I had to change? Like, what do you mean? Like, if I had to change one element of their character, or if I had to, like, are we talking from a story standpoint, or just from, like, them being a person, like, standpoint? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry. Ahem. So if the Sins went trick-or-treating and they didn't like the candy they got, what would they do? Well, for one thing, I'm sure no one would give them candy if they knew they were the seven sins. But, I mean, that was a funny little potential chapter for Seven Sins and a Baby, is where, like, they want to take, like, Angel really wants to get candy because she thinks, ooh, free candy. And so the Sins are forced to do Halloween because y'all need to understand, the Sins don't, like, celebrate traditional holidays because they can't. Like, they can't do social situations because of what they are. And, so, like, any of the scenarios would basically be Angel getting. The only one I've jokingly said that they would do is Christmas, because I always thought it would be really funny if, like, there was, like, a weird spin-off comic where it's, like, Envy and Wrath save Christmas because they're Christmas colored, and I just think it would be really funny. So, you know, that was just a stupid side comic that I always thought of. But, I feel like if they didn't like the candy, I mean, they'd be rude about it, because they're not subtle when they don't like things. So, yeah. Oh, gosh. Okay. Sorry, skipping to the bottom again. Actually, do you think you're going to continue the sin marking reveals? Because I need it for fan art. Yes, I am. I'm very stuck right now. Because Greed has a very hard pose to work with. Especially because I need to keep him in character and also hide that part of his character just a little bit. It's complicated. So yes, I'm going to. Just might take me a while. How Greed stole Christmas. Exactly. What would you do if any of your characters became real? I mean, depends on the character. If some of them became real, I'd like, oh, that's cool. If some of them became real, though, I'd be like, oh, fuck me. So, yeah, definitely depends on who's becoming real here. Who's my fave sin? That would be Lust, because, God, someday I'll be able to talk about it. But I love him as a character. I love writing him, even if he has a tendency to go on monologues. I love writing him. I love his story for him. I love just the reason why I made him exist. I love drawing him. So he's definitely my favorite out of the existence. Solar equal real equal no more Earth. Exactly. If solar was real, we'd all be dead. So are sins known in their world? Yes, they are. They are definitely known in their world. Although a lot of them is in mystery, because there is a bit of an issue where things get misconstrued. Can't really explain how, but it's also, I will say that the sins have a worse reputation with people than they actually are. Like, they're just generally kind of assholes, trying to be just existing. But the sins as a whole have a reputation for being evil. So, yeah. And there's more complicated stuff to go along with that I'm trying to think. Let me think. Is there any way I can actually explain that without being super spoiler? I mean, I guess I could. Essentially, there is this idea that in later times, of course, not all the sins are not born evil. They never are. But they are cursed to always fall victim to their sin, no matter what it is. And so even if they become a sin for essentially very trivial, very forgivable reasons, when the whole world sees you as a villain, it's kind of inevitable you become one. So that's kind of a big part of their story, at least subtext-wise. So, yeah. Okay, so the sins switched personalities. Just choose who switched to whose personality. Describe the scenario. I don't know. Well, because here's the thing. A lot of them actually have rather similar personalities. Like, if Wrath and Envy switched personalities, they'd be kind of the same. Just the difference is Wrath is a lot more outwardly aggressive and Envy's a lot more passive-aggressive. I mean, then you have shit. And that's also hard because a lot of them have complicated personalities. But yeah. So, like, if they switched, then nothing would really happen. I mean, they kind of just act the same if you think about it. I mean, okay, let's just think about this, though, generally. If any group of characters switched personalities, they'd all kind of be the same because they'd all interact with each other the same because they have the same personalities, just in different bodies, you know? So, realistically, nothing would really change. It'd just be the face that's doing and saying whatever that character would say or do is just different now, you know? So, realistically, nothing would happen. So would people try to save Angel if they found out? Winks. That's totally not a common plot line that exists. That's totally not a reoccurring theme that's gonna happen when I actually continue working on pages. I swear I'm working on pages. It's just very slow. Lining and coloring is frustrating. So, you know. Okay, so I'm gonna get a bunch of gasp from people, but I haven't heard of any of your stories. Is there any link I can read it? The only story I have that is readable right now is Seven Sins and a Baby, which is on DeviantArt and Tapas. It's only in, like, the first chapter is only posted, really. But, so none of my stories are. The other one you can, but, like, on my DeviantArt, I talk about my stories all the time. Like, there's a lot of information on Luniverse in my DeviantArt, so you just kind of have to go look at any picture that involves, or just look at that folder, and almost all the pictures have a lot talking about different things about it. So, if you're curious, you're free to go there. Imagine Inside Out, but with the sins. How many times does Wrath use the intimidating dad technique? Probably a lot. That's kind of his thing. Or honestly, Wrath is the best dad, okay? He's the best. You just want to protect his daughter. Oh, goodness. Hang on 1 second. Ah, I'm Scream. Sorry, I'm looking at things. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Hi people. Hello new people. How you doing? This hasn't even gotten on for feels like we've been streaming for a lot longer, but maybe it's because I'm talking a lot. Oh goodness. Oh goodness gracious. Yes, the Zodiac noises. Thank you. I'm sure we all know I'm well known for my random space filler noises and such. Hypothetically, Luna dies, describes what happens in the household. Everyone else would just kind of disperse. There's a big, not gonna lie, there's a big theme of Luniverse with the idea that Luna is basic bitch. She's a plain, normal human. But she is essentially the one thing that's keeping everyone in the same house together, which is, I can't explain why that's super important for that to happen, but essentially, Luna is essentially one of the most important people in the group. Not to say that no one is more important than the other, but let's just say some people are more important than the others. But, you know, let's just say if some people died, it wouldn't really affect much. It'd just be very depressing. Yep. Yeah, so, really, yeah. If Luna died, then Luniverse would be over. We could get we could get super into the whole mechanics of what happens in Luniverse with it comes to timelines and shit, but that's a different mess. Are there virtues in Seven Sins, like faith, hope, charity, justice? If so, are they seen in a more positive light than the sins? I can't answer that because there are only a few characters in the Seven Sins that aren't in the comic yet that I can talk about. And I don't want to talk. There's a lot, like, for example, there are characters that I say are in Seven Sins and a Baby, but I can't explain their role because there are a lot of spoilers. So I can't say if there are virtues in Seven Sins or not, just as I can't say if there's if there's other things in there that are like biblically related to things. I do have 4 horsemen, and I only say that because that's something that would show up. If he can't answer, then that's a yes or kind of yes. No, it's not actually. It really isn't. I can promise you. There's because there's a lot of stories where I have to say yes or no because, like, for example, ask me any of the sins sexualities, I can only tell you about 3 of them, and all of them I say yes or no because one of them, their sexuality, is a secret. So yeah. So no, it doesn't mean yes. There are other characters that I can't explain because they have relation to characters' backstories, or they have relation to anything like, you know, just other things in the story that are important. Like, I have a character named, who's not in my toy house. I should really put her there. I don't know if I'd ever actually commission artwork of her, but, you know, and I for some seemingly blanked on her name. But I can show her off, and I can show her she's there. I can't explain what her role is, though, because she's an important character that shows up later for one arc. But, you know, still. But yes, so there are characters, like, I have said, I have exposed the horsemen, and that's only because the horsemen aren't going to show up forever, and I love them too much to not show them, and also because they're in Crackland so much that I have to show them, so, and because I love them, because Morgan, Bella, Morty, and Franny are my children, and I love them. But yeah, so, like, there are characters in there that I haven't talked much about, and I can't, because spoilers, like Kai, and Noelle, and my dorks, because I love them. The rumor comes out, does Pride is gay. Homeboy, is there Vine in Luniverse? Probably. Luniverse is technically exists in, like, plain normal, like, normal Earth. Like, so technically they could exist, you know, like, anything that exists in the real world would technically exist in Luniverse because, you know, whatever, which is also another weird thing about Luniverse, because I can't give a set time when it's revealed, because the one awkward thing about Luniverse is that it will always exist in a modern time, so any dates I write down for when things happen are totally subject to change. Do the sins have human names? If so, what are they? They do have human names, and I can't tell you because some of them are spoilers, so I have chosen to not reveal any of them because, well, some of them, they're not spoilers, but they have a very big significance. Like, one of them, I'm not going to say who, one of the sins, they only, I think I've said this in a stream before, but only, how many? Only 3 living people know what their real name is. And there's a significant reason as to why, but it goes very much into their character arc and stuff like that, so that's why it's a secret. There's another character that doesn't want anyone to know their name, essentially, and if it ever cuts close to that happening, they kind of might kill you. So, because some of them are a bit secret, quote unquote, I have decided to technically hide all of them and let them be revealed in each character's arc, because I think that would be fun. So yeah, they do all have human names. I can't say what they are. Once you finally make Luniverse into a comic or novel or animation or however you choose to tell the story, will it actually be called Luniverse or something else? I have wanted to kind of call it something else, but I think I might just call it Luniverse because I've become so attached to it, and really the name does make sense. Like, because it is a multiverse, and that's a big aspect of the story, and Luna is the main character in the end. Although technically there is another character you could say is the main character, because she's experienced the most in terms of the actual plot, but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, so I probably still will call it Luniverse just because it's been what it's been called so much at this point. And honestly, I mean, don't really have any other brilliant names for it. So, yeah. And it probably would be a comic. Because with how much visual detail there is in Luniverse and how much I've drawn them, I couldn't see myself making it a comic. like, I couldn't see myself making it a novel. As for animation, if you look at their designs, they are not animation friendly. So, it's kind of, yeah. I couldn't, I wouldn't put other people through animating that, because obviously I wouldn't be able to animate it by myself, and I wouldn't put other people through animating it, because they are not animation friendly. So comic is probably the best way I would ever be able to do it. That, or possibly a video game, but I can't code, so probably not going to be a video game. But a video game would be very cool for certain reasons, but it would be a very long video game. So now we've seen White Diamond. Does this change anything about Sunstone, Runestone, and the narrative or personality-wise? Honestly, I haven't thought about those characters. My brother and I haven't changed anything about them because we don't really use them anymore. So, essentially, no, because we don't use them. I make random noises. It's my jam. I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, again, just a reminder, if anyone wants to ask me a question, make sure you at TheZodiacLord to get my attention, and then put questions. So if you can. If you don't have space, you don't have to put it, but yeah. Wait, what? Luniverse is a video game? What genre would it be? I mean, probably adventure. Honestly, I couldn't. Okay. For very specific reasons, I could never not see Luniverse as being. I mean, for one thing, I think it would make a rather cool. I think it would either make a really cool RPG or like point and click style game, honestly. But I could never not see Luniverse as being a one of those games, and this is one reason why I don't think I could ever make it a game, because it would be a very intimidating prospect to do, because I could never not see it as being a very in-depth, your choices matter kind of game. And it could not be in the way where it's like, really none of your choices matter until the very, very end, because if that was how it was, it would destroy the whole point of Luniverse, because Luniverse is very much based on the existence of multiverse and different timelines, and different things change the outcome, and the idea that there's multiple ways to get a bad ending and multiple ways to get a good ending, and there's so many other routes Luniverse could take. So if Luniverse was ever a game, it would have to be very extensive when it comes to the choices made and and how those affect gameplay. So, and I've always seen it as it would probably be either like an RPG, or it would be similar in that sense, but kind of one of those really artistic, like 2D point and click kind of things, because I really like those. So, yeah. Question, is there any story of yours that you could see ever becoming a game or being told as a game entirely? Well, like I said, Luniverse would make a brilliant one, but I just don't have the skills to make a game. If I ever wanted to sit down and learn how, I probably could. I have found a really good program for making like dating sim. I don't want to call it dating, like visual novel games, but I don't want Luniverse. If Luniverse was going to be a game, I wouldn't really want it to be a visual novel game. I would want it to be something more where you move and interact. Again, so that makes it really complicated. What other stories? I could see the story Naturia being a game, because that would be a very cool adventure type of game, and the characters are very cartoony, and so that would be really cool. I could see. Let me think. Let me think. I mean, I have one that could be cool horror game, I guess. Oh, I have some characters in a hypothetical story that would be really cool in a game, like an RPG game, like an RPG horror game, which I've been considering actually pursuing, but I'm not sure but I don't know where I'd start. I do actually have RPG Maker. I want to say that, but I don't know it well enough yet, and it is a little bit, it's very cool, and I want to actually learn more. But I'm so God, I'm so spacey. I'm so bad at like sitting down and doing something like consistently. Anyway, how did you change your voice? I noticed that you made it a lot more masculine sounding. I'm not really trying actively. I do kind of. I'm aware of it. I have been kind of trying to talk a little bit deeper, but I haven't really been actively trying to change my voice. Part of it, though, I will say this. With my voice, I've definitely noticed the fact that when I am in casual conversation, I talk a lot lower. But when I'm usually talking to a stranger or I'm really tense, my voice goes up a little bit and I start talking a lot more I start talking higher pitched. So I'm sure in a lot of my video, like I think the reason why it might have seemed like it changed is just because when I first started uploading things, I got really nervous talking on camera. But now I've done like streams and stuff so much, I'm a lot more calm about it. So there's also the fact that like with being tired, that's also a factor. So who's your favorite Looniverse character? Vanessa, for reasons I can't express as usual. But I love her. She has a very complex character, and I love her. So, I just generally love her. So, who did you adopt Chrome from, if you remember? I don't remember their username. I just know that it took me forever to do my half to actually get him properly. And then Virus was, of course, made off of Chrome. So I don't remember, unfortunately. Who would be dateable in a Looniverse sim? Oh, that'd be interesting. Oh, God. I mean, it's weird because I'd say, like, the main 10. But at the same time, I feel like Vanessa, for some reason, you wouldn't be able to date until you, like... She would be kind of that character that you have to date all the other characters before you date. Before you have to date the main, like, you have to date all the other characters before you date the unlockable character, but at the same time too, I feel like it'd be funny if Looniverse was a dating sim, if there were other unlockable characters, like other side characters that you could do, but I don't know. I'm sure a lot of characters would be dateable. I have kind of a bit of a problem where I have several characters that have very similar personalities, but they are important to the story, and advice how to make them more unique. Well, I would ask yourself, okay, a really good tool for a lot of that would just be like fleshing out your characters and like what their interests are or what their small hobbies are or, little things like that, or just kind of what they generally like doing or how they react to little things. I found always a good way to, like a really good way to develop characters, just for anyone who, this is for everyone, honestly, is find yourself, like, make some note cards. Don't think about character-related questions. Think about the most random-ass questions you possibly can and write them down and then shuffle them up and then think, okay, this character. Think of a certain character and pull out a card and answer that question for that character. It's a really good way to make yourself think and figure out, stuff like that, like little details about your character that might not be important, but it's just a way to make them more developed. Another good strategy is honestly role-playing. Role-playing is really good for developing characters you have no idea, because a character can start one way and you might end up changing their personality without realizing it into something better. Like, because that has happened to me with so many characters. You would be shocked how good role-playing is for fleshing out characters. And stuff like that. So I would also recommend that. And honestly, if you're worried that characters are too similar, no one likes hearing this, but consider changing one of them. Like doing something different with them. And I know nobody likes to hear that because their characters are their babies, but trust me, sometimes changing your character for the benefit of the story is a good thing. Like, if something's not working. Like, I had a character named Zero. He's in Looniverse. He used to be one of the main characters before Jay was a thing. In fact, I made Jay specifically to replace Zero. Because Zero originally had a very terrible personality. A very basic bitch personality. And it wasn't working. So I changed him to be something better. And I made him a lot more crazy. But unfortunately, I couldn't figure out how to make that work well with how he was introduced to the house. And I also realized with what universe I wanted him to be in, it would be kind of weird because it would mean that technically Chrome, Virus, and Zero would be from the exact same universe. So it's like 3 out of 7 characters are from the same place. And to me, that felt kind of unbalanced. And even if you, which I honestly, I include Chrome and Virus as one unit because they might as well be. So for me, like, it just felt weird to have essentially 2 characters from one universe while everyone else is 1 character from one universe. So, with exception to Vanessa, but that's fine for reasons. So, yeah. And so with Zero, I ended up deciding, you know what, Zero? You would make a much better villain. You would succeed so much better as an antagonist. So I made him an antagonist, and I made him I took him out of the main characters, and I decided, you know what? Now I have an opportunity to make a totally different element to Looniverse, or to the household. And that's why I made Jay, to be my very edgy, I don't want to talk to you character. So yeah. So never be afraid to change your characters. Now, obviously, if you post your characters publicly, big changes can upset audiences, unfortunately. Just be aware of that. But if it benefits your story, don't be afraid. What's Naturia about? I don't think I've heard you mention it before. It's an older story that I've been meaning to go back to, but it's essentially a story where everything is based on where all the characters are based on elements of nature. It's a very fantasy story, like not based in reality. And it's about 3 friends who go on an adventure to save the world. So, it's on my DA. It's all the art for it is old, but yeah. Ramen noodles, your opinion. I like ramen. If you were ever recommended to take away a Looniverse character if you were ever recommended to take away a Looniverse character away to plot reasons, would you? And if not, what counterpoints would you use? Sorry, nachos and ponchos? I'm very confused at what you're asking. Are you asking if someone told me to remove a character for plot reasons, would I? Because in that case, someone's telling me to change my story where it shouldn't be changed. So that would be my argument, but I don't care. No, I don't know. So if you could rephrase that, because I don't know what you're asking. Do the Sins have a house they all live in? Yes. That'll hopefully be shown in chapter 1 when I finish it. Eventually. Yes, they do have a house. I actually, funny enough, I built that house on The Sims so I can draw it properly in the comic. Because I wasn't sure how it was going to look. Does Valentina love Jay, or is he just a tool to her? She does love him in her weird way. Valentina's very crazy. So she's very much a victim of circumstance, essentially. Obviously, that doesn't make her, like, anything she does okay. But, like, she is very much a victim of circumstance. So in her weird way, she does love him. And, but he is, in a lot of ways, though, he definitely... She didn't have a son because she wanted to raise a child. She had a son because she wanted an heir who she thought could be stronger than her. But she does love him in a weird way, kind of. But yeah. It's not a good kind of love, but anyway. Do you know of any places online where I could talk about my story/characters? None of my friends or family are interested, but I still want to talk about them to someone and work on it. Well, really any social media website, if you just start posting about your characters, people will either come or they won't, just whatever. DeviantArt's usually a good place for it. You can join specific groups about talking about characters and stuff like that. I know there's other places I know, but yeah. Um, but yeah, so there are a lot of places if you look around. You can also go on forums if you really want to. I know there's forums you can talk about it with, I'm sure. Have you heard of Has Been Hotel by BusyPop? Yes, and I'm very excited for it. If your characters from if your characters from any one story were in fandoms, what fandoms would they be in? I have so many. See, you make this hard when you just say my characters, because I have like too many of those. So I don't know, like, because that's a lot of characters to go through. Sorry to bug you, but do you have any idea how to go about expressing a character's backstory in a show don't tell sort of way in a comic setting? I will say, best way is flashbacks. With character backstories, again, I haven't properly done a comic, so my advice is not going to be best for you. But if you're going to talk about a character's backstory, if you're going to just bring up a brief thing about their backstory, it's fine to just say it and have it be a thing. But if you're going to go in detail about what happened to a character, do a flashback so you can actually show what happens, rather than including long walls of text explaining a character's history. So, yeah, that'd be my suggestions. Just do a flashback. I really love your story. It's so interesting. I'm actually working on a webcomic to start, which tells the origins of a few of my characters. I hope to get to learn more about it. If one day you were walking along and bumped into someone and knocked them over, then you offered to help them up and realized it was Infinity, what would you do? Well, I mean, I'd be pretty shocked, because that means my entire theory on the universe, like, is true. So that'd be pretty freaky. Also, that would essentially mean I met God. So I could say that to people, and that'd be hilarious. Yeah. And I don't mean that in, like, any kind of religious joke. That's just because, yeah, inside jokes, hooray. But yeah, so, be pretty freaky. Oh, God, there's so many. I said anyone's story, so choose one story. How do I have so many. How do I just pick one? Because I have a lot that I really like. So there's a lot I could do that with. So I don't know. Do you ever or did you ever create OC boards on Pinterest or for your character board? No, I've never done that. Should people be ashamed of their old characters in art in your opinion? I mean, no. I don't think you should really be ashamed. I think you should be able to notice where you've improved. I think you should be able to notice what the flaws in your old stuff was and be self-aware of it, but I don't think you should be ashamed of it. Like, I don't really believe in people, because, I mean, I used to do this when I was younger, but I don't believe it anymore. I don't believe in people removing all of their old artwork and stuff after they've improved, because to me, I think that, like, people should be allowed to see where you've come from, you know? And there's nothing to be ashamed for. And I believe that doing that makes other people ashamed of their own work because they don't see the improvement. So I don't think you should be ashamed of your old artwork and stories and characters. I think you mentioned that you came up with religions for your worlds. What's the biggest, most popular in the world and strangest religions you have and why? I mean, it depends what story we're talking about, really. Because, like, Luniverse, any and all religions in there are grounded somewhere in a real religion in some way. So they're not really weird. I don't know. They're not strange. The only one I could really think of off the top of my head would be the fact that in the new story I'm working on, there's a lot with, like, gods and a lot of controversy with that and stuff. So that'd probably be the biggest. And, oh God, there's so many. I'm so confused about where I leave off. If Luna had to be stuck in a room for 24 hours with one character from the Luniverse household, who would she choose? She would probably choose... Oh, God, let me think. She'd probably either choose Felicity because she can tolerate Felicity, or she would choose Vanessa because she'd want to ask Vanessa a lot of questions, and it would be great if Vanessa could not escape asking questions, but coughs. Anyway, but yeah, so either Vanessa or Felicity. What design elements do you find yourself always putting in character subconsciously? Yellow accents all the time. Just yellow accents to everything. And then like eyeliner, which is actually funny. I think people think of the eyeliner as me making a dark rim around eyes with darker eye colors. That's not supposed to be eyeliner. That's just supposed to be me making the eyes pop and making the eye look not separated from the eyelid. Eyeliner to me, when I actually draw eyeliner, it's usually a different color other than black around the character's eye. So, yeah. But like, for example, like with Wrath, he's got pale ass skin and he has pale ass hair. So for him, since his eyes are bright red, I outline it in red so it doesn't look awkward compared to the eyelid with how I do my lines. 7 cents and a baby. There you go. A story. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now. I feel like I'm bothering you with this one question. Well, I don't know what fandoms they would be in because I don't have a lot of that stuff in 7 cents and a baby. And for like all of them specifically, I mean, I feel like a lot of them would think fandoms are trash, to be honest. Like, that would be in their personality. Like, Wrath and Envy would outwardly think fandoms are trash. So, yeah, honestly, I don't know if that's in a lot of their personalities. Maybe besides Gluttony. Or Sloth, ironically. But, yeah, I don't know if it would be in a lot of their personalities to actually be in a fandom. How do you input a new character? Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you make a new character for a story? Or how do you introduce them? Or, I don't know what you're asking. Will you ever draw your gemstones anymore? And do you still watch SU? I still watch Steven Universe when it exists. I don't really draw my gems anymore. I don't know if I will. I don't know. Maybe. But probably not. I'm just into like right now I'm just drawing way too much other stuff to draw much else. So ooh, sorry. Okay. What's the height difference between your tallest and shortest characters? I would have to look. I don't have that down anywhere because if we're talking about all of my stories, that'd probably be big because, like, for example, like in one of my stories, I have an enormous tree woman, who's essentially a goddess. Then in another story, or in my most recent one, I've been tinkering with, I have like 4 huge ass dragons, and then in others, I have fucking tiny pixie characters. So overall, it'd probably be pretty drastic. If Felicity had to kill one of the other members of the household, would it be? She wouldn't kill. Honestly, full in character, she would kill herself before she killed anybody else. That's just a reality. What about a tree woman? I'm intrigued. It's in Naturia. There's a character who's essentially the empress of all of Naturia, who's a giant. She's an oak tree. She's an old oak tree, and so she's huge. Although she doesn't really look like a tree. All the Naturia characters aren't made of their own element. They just kind of vaguely resemble it. So she's not actually a tree, unfortunately. Is she the old oak tree from the garden green grass of home? Wait. From the green, green grass of home? No, if that's an inside joke, I don't get it. How did you design your Looniverse characters? Do you design them off of personality or design? Most of my Looniverse characters are adoptables. So a lot of their designs came first and I incorporated them in Looniverse. And then as for others, I just designed ones as I needed them. So, yeah. But a lot of them, especially a lot of main characters, are adaptables. Oh, yeah. I'm yawning. Yawning a lot. Who's the tallest and shortest in the Looniverse as told? Tallest is Xavier. Shortest, oh God, I gotta remember my thing. Oh God, I made a height chart. Hang on, let me look for a second. Let me go look at their fucking references. Shortest is either Felicity or Infinity. Let me think, because Infinity's 5 foot. I remember that because I made her 5 foot on the spot. Yeah, Felicity's the shortest because she's 4'10". That's without her ears, of course. And then Xavier's the tallest. Or no, wait, hang on. Wait. Xavier's 6 foot. Okay, Xavier and Virus are... Oh, you're right. I did forget Chrome. Chrome's the shortest. See, I forgot. Sometimes I forget. I made him a tiny beam. So Chrome is the shortest, but he's artificial, so that's also a cheat. But yeah, Chrome's the shortest. Virus, I guess, would be the tallest because he and Xavier are 6 foot, but Virus is taller with the ears, so haha. So yeah, I guess Chrome and Virus are the shortest and tallest. So there we go. My bad. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot about. I'm so tired. I'm so sleepy. When you come up with stories, do you outline stuff or just come up with little snippets and make them work, or both? With stories that I legitimately want to make a thing, I make an outline and I flesh it out. For stories like 7 Cents and a Baby that I literally made because I wanted to prove I could, I wanted to prove specifically to myself that I could make a comic, I just made that as I went. So, yeah. If you made a story without a storyline, let a few people read it and think it's great, how would you continue it? Well, if I could continue it, I would, and if I couldn't, I wouldn't. So, that's how I've always been with stories. I don't believe in forcing stories because everyone likes it. I believe that if there's a reason why and you can make it work, that's great. But, it's, if you don't, what was I saying? I zoned out for a second. But if you don't have any logical, sensible way to move it, then you shouldn't, or it's going to be bad. Have you ever Frankenstein several stories together? Hi, that's Looniverse. That's Looniverse Tires thing. Do you have advice for writing a really funny antagonist but making them really evil at the same time? Dark humor is your best friend for those kinds of characters. Like, really dark humor. Like seriously. If you want to make them funny but also evil, you're gonna have to make them have dark humor. That's just kind of... Otherwise, their jokes aren't really gonna be... they're not really gonna be funny and evil, if you get what I'm saying. So, dark humor is your best friend in that kind of case. What is Gluttony's favorite food? She likes all food equally. I will always say that. Do you have any characters that are almost everything they do is out of spite? Yes. Hang on. Wait, God. Oh, God. Who is it? Why did I just suddenly, blank? There is a specific character I have who literally everything they do is out of spite. Oh, God. Who is it? Why can't I remember them? Help me. I'm dying. I mean, I have some other characters that are like that. I mean, Lust has done a lot of shit out of spite. But he's not the one I'm thinking of. Fuck. Oh, yeah, that's right. Ira. I have a character named Ira who's not posted online other than my Patreon. You can find a lot of shit on my Patreon. But she does 99% of what she does when she's alive is just purely out of spite because she's so angry about how her life turned out. So, yes, I do have characters that do literally everything out of spite. Do you have those characters where they're part of a big story, but over time you realize they're basically useless? Like they have no use to the story? Yeah, that's happened before. It's just kind of something that happens when you write a lot of characters. In Naturia, can Leaf open her eyes? I mean, probably, but I just find it cute that they just don't open. So, as a character choice, she just doesn't open her eyes. What advice do you have for making them literal god characters? Well, since I'm working on that right now, it depends whether you want them to be a main character, a side, like a distant character, or like a very important, very involved character. Because there are different ways to go about it in different ways. So, yeah, it would depend on what role you want them to have. How evil do you think you can make a character but still have them hanging out with the protagonist and being a good guy and having it still make sense? Like, do you mean that they are evil but they're hiding that they're evil to, like, be with the good guys and hang out until they can double cross them? Because if that's the case, you just hide the fact that they're evil, but you make it very, very subtle, and you give very subtle hints that they're not really entirely a good person. If you mean that, like, they're a evil character, but they're still a protagonist, well, they simply have to be a main character of the story. Protagonist does not equal good guy. There's a very big difference between a protagonist and a hero. So, yeah, I would say that would depend on what you mean by, like, evil and what you mean by protagonist. So, sorry, I don't know what to talk about, and now I'm replying to something, so my bad. Sorry. If I ever dip in silence, I apologize. Oof, sorry, another question. When do you think a story is considered finished enough to make it into something like a comic? Like, is it okay if the middle is kind of foggy and whatnot? Yes, that is okay if you can work with that, but you have to be warned with yourself that, like, I would say that if you're going to make a story that you genuinely want to be good, again, because I believe it does in fact depend on intent. If you just want to make a story for the hell of making a story and you don't care if it's good or anything like that, then just do it. Like, just do however you want to do it and just have fun. But if you want to make something good, you should have as much of it figured out as possible. If you are foggy about the middle, but you have a solid beginning, I would say you could probably start it, but I would recommend you still think about the middle and you keep thinking of something and you don't just try to wing the middle, you know? Because that's how stories start contradicting and start breaking rules that were laid out and stuff like that. Do you think the main character of a story needs to be good? My main girl V eventually does something messed up things, but my story still has villains. Yes, I do not think they should be good. I love stories that have a gray main character that's not the epitome of righteousness. I love that. That's literally what The Seven Sins and a Baby is. The main characters did not do good things for the most part. And a lot of them, they don't do good things. They are not good role models. But also, even the bad guys aren't total bad guys. And they're not total good guys either. I love gray stories. God, like, oh God, what's a good example? I swear, there's a book that I know is like a really good example of, or like something that's a really good example of this. Um, I can't think of it right now, but yeah, I don't think that. I think it's way more fun to have a character not be perfect because I think that's just a lot more believable and it's a lot more interesting to see a main character do like bad things and have to pay for those bad things than opposed to a main character always being in the right, you know? Or even like if nobody's in the right. I love that too. Like, oh God, there it is. There's a good, perfect example is Dear Evan Hansen. Not for, before anyone goes crazy. I'm not in the fandom. I'm not about to, don't start singing in the chat for the love of God, please. But I do, like, I love Dear Evan Hansen when I saw it. For the story it was. And what I really love about it is that every character in Dear Evan Hansen, nobody is 100% in the right. Nobody, even the main character, as bad as you feel about him, does something that he shouldn't have done. But in the end, it leaves you thinking, was it like, did the ends justify the means? Because he, again, if you don't know anything about Dear Evan Hansen, the main essential story is that he lies that he knows somebody that he definitely didn't after they commit suicide. And he puts out this huge, and it's just a lie that keeps on building with himself. But he does, and it's complicated because he does much good in the world, but it's all a facade, you know? And I would very much recommend Dear Evan Hansen. It won the award. It won an award for Best Musical. It's really good. And it's got great music and a great story. And then like you have the fact that there's like two other people he gets involved with that later in the story feel betrayed by him and they feel like they've left him in the dust, but at the same time they weren't exactly nice either. Like one of them was just an outward dick to Evan, and the other one, she was such an intention whore. Like, and I know that's mean to say. I had a debate with my friend though, but she was the kind of like, this isn't a spoiler, in the beginning of the musical, she asks Evan, because he broke his arm, that's a main key of the play. He broke his arm, and she's like, oh, what happened? And he's like, oh, well, I fell out of a tree and broke, before he can even finish his sentence, she cuts him off and says, oh, well, my like grandmother's in the hospital dying or whatever. And it's like, she's one of those kinds of people. So while they feel betrayed and by Hansen, or like by Evan, you wonder, like, by God, do they deserve it? Or is that still not right? It's such a great story because it's so much gray. There is no white and there is no black with any of the characters. Although, small side tangent, I don't care who gets mad at me with this. I'm not in musical fandoms, but I don't like that people actually genuinely ship Evan and the one guy as an actual gay couple, because that was a joke. That was literally a joke in the musical that they were gay, because that's how Evan was making it seem with how he was describing their fake friendship. They didn't actually know each other, so it does drive me a little crazy when people actually pair these two people who only talk once in the show at the very beginning, and that their whole gay thing was a joke, because that was the whole thing. That was, there's literally one of the songs about that. Again, if you ship them, that's fine, but personally it bothers me. Because just as someone who loved the show, it just kind of bothers me a little bit. If you ship them, fine, that's okay. I'm not mad at you, don't take it personally, but that's just a little side tangent that irritates me about, like, I don't understand why musical fandoms exist, but that's fine if they do, but, you know. So, so yeah, I don't have anything against the gay. It's just that was the fact. How do you feel about gay characters? I have lots of gay characters. I'm totally fine with that. It's not the fact that they were gay. It's the fact that in the show that it was a joke, because Evan was making it seem, because for anyone who hasn't seen the show, so they can make sense about this, the fact that, when Evan was describing to this guy's parents that he knew the other guy, which he totally didn't. That's the point of the show, is that he didn't. It was a lie. But when he's explaining it, the way he makes it sound makes it seem like they were forbidden gay lovers. And that's just kind of the joke. even though he's actually in love with the guy's sister from the very beginning. Because like he describes like, well, we didn't want anyone to know about our friendship, and we'd send like private emails back and forth with each other, and when we were in school we told each other to pretend like we didn't like each other and we didn't know each other, and whatever. And then like his family friend, quote unquote, from the beginning, he's just like, dude, his family totally thinks you were gay for each other. So, you know, so again, it's fine if you ship them, you do you. I'm not telling you to change what you do, and I don't hate you at all. It's nothing personal. It just personally bothers me that it is a ship, because it's in the show, it's not. That's the entire thing, was that they didn't know each other. So, you know, but anyway, sorry, that was a tangent. Question. Let's see. Question, is Naturia like a video game? I could see it being a video game. Be pretty fun adventure, like video game with combat aspects and stuff like that. Any advice on how to make a very limited color schemes work? I have basic species idea that wouldn't have many colors, like 3 to 4-ish. Then honestly, it's easier to make things work with limited colors. Usually more colors on one character isn't always a good idea. Is generally recommended against, but that's not really that hard. Just find 4 or 3 colors that work together. You know, usually it's a good idea to have one that's a complementary color, usually, but not always. Depends on what you're going for. Can any idea be good in your opinion for story? I believe any idea, there is no idea, in my opinion, that is inherently bad. Now, there are some things that you can only do so much with, but there is no idea in the world to me that is inherently bad, which is why I really hate the argument of when people say, don't do this, period, when it comes to stories, because that's literally not how stories work. Because any idea can be done well, just as any idea can be done bad. Are you doing Inktober/Goretober? No, I don't have time for it right now. I'm going to do other Halloween type things. Like right now I'm doing Patreon request stuff. And they're going to be Halloween themed, and I'm really liking them right now. Particularly the first one I got requested. That made me really happy. So, yes. So I'm not doing Inktober, Goretober this year. I will hopefully eventually, but not now. Whew. Do you accept the fact that 2 gay guys have to have a son instead of a daughter? Wait, what? Do you accept the fact that 2 gay guys have to have a son instead of a daughter? No? Like, what do you mean? Like, are we talking real life or stories here? Like, I'm confused. I had this convo before, so I wondered what your opinion on it was. Does a story need characters to make it a story? That's a good question. No, I don't think it does. I don't think there's plenty of good stories that don't have really any characters or have very, very basic characters. You know, I mean, obviously it's hard for people to relate and connect to a story without someone to connect through it to, but I don't think a story needs a character. There have been people there's a lot of poetry that have been written, and they're not about a character. They're about like something in nature or something like that. So, I mean, I'm sure it's not easy to write a story without a character or a vessel to experience through, but so it's not an easy thing, but it can be done. Have you ever thought about animating your stories? Yes. There are a few stories that I'm actually positive that the best way to tell them would be animated. One of them is Naturia. I think that would make a bomb-ass cartoon. Never going to take it to a network, though, because never going to let that one leave my hands. But if I could ever, again, like people doing it now. If I could set up a way to make it like have a team and do that, I would totally make Naturia like a cartoon. Another one is I have a story called Colorful, which actually started as a comic, and I had like some really nice paid like panels. It was taking me a long ass time, but I had nice panels. But I realized that like, I couldn't, it was so hard for me to see it be a comic. And I just, in my mind, I was like, this would me so much cooler if it was animated. I mean, it's a very dramatic, very serious story, so it's not really a cartoon, but it would me so much better as an animated story. So I'm waiting till the day I have the skill set to do that kind of thing. Just speaking like on my own, it'd probably be easier to animate Naturia alone because a lot of those characters are a lot more simplistic and stuff. But yeah. Oh, do you play the Arcana? No, I do not. Any advice for making polar opposite characters that would possibly develop a relationship? Well, usually opposites attract, so I have a lot of those. My only thing would just be make sure they're not opposite enough to where it's like a wonder they get along, because then that makes it kind of unbelievable. Generally, it's not actually all that hard to make characters who act like who are total opposites to be together because they complete one another, kind of thing, Because I mean, I have a lot of those. Like I have, just thinking of a few off the top of my head, any relationship Vanessa's with, because she's not into edgy people and she's very edgy. So have you ever thought of making animatic? I'm working on one right now. It's just very long and I'm not done anywhere close to well, I have it all sketched out. I just gotta finish it. So would one of your OCs date a jerk but royal elf or a sweet and kind shapeshifter? I mean, I'm sure I have a few that would, but it depends on the context and the rest of their personalities. Do you watch Hilda? I do not. I remember you mentioned that Looniverse would never be an animation because you wouldn't want to put that hell on any animators, but what about doing it 3D? Here's the thing. With how much I've drawn Looniverse being 2D, I couldn't do it 3D. And also, I'm gonna be honest here. I don't generally like most 3D animations over 2D animations. I'm one of those people who love 2D animations over 3D. There have been some really good 3D movies I've seen. There have been. But with a lot of how people do 3D animations nowadays, and with the ability, with how it just is, to me, I just couldn't see Looniverse being 3D, And I know there's, filters in, Maya and stuff where you can make, you can make a 3D animation look two-dimensional, but it's not. But again, I just can't see it like that. And again, those would be very complicated models. That'd be complicated models with a lot of moving parts. And the fact that with a lot of how I picture certain scenes in my head, it'd be very hard to get that same kind of exaggeration in 3D with 2D. And because I've taken an animation class, I've done 3D versus 2D. And to me, I couldn't picture Looniverse being as effective 3D than it would be as 2D, just with a lot of what I've imagined. Especially just because, again, there's a lot of moving parts that would be involved and stuff like that. And it would be hard it'd be just as hard in 2D, but for someone who also just doesn't enjoy doing 2D more, I couldn't do it in 3D. Yeah, a lot of people like 2D more, honestly. From what I've seen, most people like 2D more, but the issue is the reason why we don't see any of it is because with companies and stuff, 3D is just cheaper and it's faster than 2D. Now, 2D has been making a bit of a comeback in a lot of ways, so I hope for the day that it does come back a lot more fully. But yeah, there's a reason why we don't see a lot of 2D is because it takes much longer. It usually costs a lot more. So yeah, it's the unfortunate truth. What would be Vanessa's theme song? Actually, I know what her theme song is. It's, again, I should say this. When I pick theme songs, I don't listen to a lot of music that doesn't have lyrics. so I should just warn you about that. But there's a cover by this guy named what's his name? Chase. Well, there's this guy. He does a lot of popular, like not always popular, but he does a lot of big songs and he does covers of them, but he does them in minor key. So he makes like generally more happy or upbeat songs sound a lot more dramatic and intense, and I love it a lot. Like he's done like Kiss the Girl, and he's made it sound a lot more intense. Yeah, there we go. Chase Holfelder. Thank you, Coffee Bean Cat Warriors. Yeah, he's really good, and I love it. So one of his songs, he did a cover of My Way, and that honestly is kind of what I picture as Vanessa's theme song for reasons. But yeah, so yeah. What kind of roleplay topics are you into? I mean, depends. I'm open to trying any kind of role play, really, like, but generally, I mean, I like bigger role plays usually, but I've had a hard time because, God, when I posted my video about roleplay pet peeves, I got so many people approaching me asking me if I wanted to roleplay, which was fine. But the unfortunate reality is just, I don't know what it is, but it's hard for me to get into a roleplay. It's just unfortunate. Is I feel like I think I just feel like I have a very specific type, and I don't really even know what that type is. But like, the unfortunate truth is, like, there was one person, we had a really good idea with some like really cute characters already, but their reply, like within the first few replies, I could tell it was going to drive me insane to try and do it as a role play, because like they kept kind of like, we got to a certain segment and everything was going well, and then they kept repeating basically the same thing over and over again every time I responded, and it just, I tried to respond differently to make them change what they were doing and move the story along, but they wouldn't. And but that's just unfortunately, I mean, I can tell you for a fact, like my current roleplay that's been going on the longest right now is my one with Mitchie. It was an accidental crossover, so I don't know. Are you still doing those character review thingies, like the one with the slime cat boy? I would. I don't really have... I don't have time to sit down and do proper character reviews, because those things, I script those. Cracking Land, yes. But yeah, I don't have time to properly sit down and make a full character review, because when I do them like that, I need to script them, and it's really hard when I have to read everything and come up with a response. It's not always fun for me, and then I get so many requests, I feel overwhelmed. So I like doing the ones that are like when people talk about their characters in a video. So if I found more of those, I probably would do another one. I know one person gave me theirs, but I'm not doing it because it was really short, and I could tell the person rushed it just to make me review it. And within 2 minutes of the video, they stopped putting images up. And so it's just a black screen. And to me, I don't want to review something that seems like it was rushed. And so there's that. But if there were more of those character backstories that are laid out in a video, I'd probably do more of those, because I think those are a lot more interesting for me to do, and I think those are a lot more easy for me to do, and a lot less stressful and a little bit more engaging, So yeah, and it's also nice to see people do like the visual thing where they talk about, or they actually show pictures. So that's just how I am. But yeah, I want to do more character reviews, but I don't have the time to give my full energy and full thought into it. How do you feel about writing a script when writing a story? I think it's very valuable and a good idea. Does Vanessa have a fave casino in Luniverse? Not really. She just hangs out in the underworld. There's plenty of places to do it. She doesn't have a set favorite. To bounce off the other guy's question, what would be the theme of the other Luniverse characters? I'm not really sure, because Vanessa only has one because her backstory is very in-depth. Jay might. Jay's probably would be... Oh, God, which one? Hang on, let me look at my playlist. Jay has one or two, although I know one of them I had to get rid of because Spotify has a stupid thing that's going on for some reason where some songs will just stop playing at all, and then you just can't play them, and they glitch out your Spotify, and it irritates the hell out of me. Which sucks because I had to take my way off my playlist because of that stupid glitch, and I don't know why it exists. My brother's gotten it too, so it's not just me. So I know I had to take one of them off for that reason, but I know the other one is still on here for Jay. Shoot. Well, I know, well, here's one. Solar's his theme is a Great Vacation by Dirt Poor Robins. Let me see. Oh, My Eyes is basically my love song for, or not my, quote, love song for Vanessa and Victoria / Vanessa and Alexandria. What else? I'll find it soon, eventually. I swear. I know there's one I have for a character, but I can't say it because it kind of spoils their character a little bit. Where is it? Why can't I find this? I swear to God. I have so many fucking songs on my playlist. Potch is also a good one for Vanessa. That's also a good one for Lust. I'm Only Human After All. That's what it is for Jay. And then there's another one, but I don't have it because Spotify's stupid. So, do you think that scripting or storyboarding is better than when doing animations and such? Yes. It is almost impossible to make a good fluid animation without actually figuring out what you're doing before you do it. Trust me. I don't care what anyone says with animation when you're making a long animation. If you're making something like 10 seconds, that's different. But if you're making a full animation, you need to script and storyboard, or at least just storyboard. Trust me. Opinion on people saying fandoms ruin media? Well, I don't really agree. I think it only ruins media if you let it ruin media. Like, honestly, I mean, personally, I just don't care. Like, to me, it's just, I think fandoms can be very toxic, and I think when something is first popular, the minority is very loud, and the minority is the terrible part. But, overall, I think it only really affects things if you let it affect them, to be honest. Like, once I drew a fucking picture for my friend of, her as a cat, but also as Pennywise, and a girl. So that is my favorite picture and possibly my most viewed video on my channel. And I'll gladly take that ad revenue. And I love that picture so much. But it was mostly satirical. Like, it was mostly ironic. It was just kind of a joke she wanted me to draw. So I did. And there were so many fucking people when I first posted who were like, "You've ruined it for me." And I'm like, if I've ruined it for you, you must not enjoy much in your life if one image on the internet has ruined an entire series for you or an entire movie for you. So, sorry. Do you feel that spoilers make some want to read and watch a story more? I wouldn't be surprised if it makes some want to read a story more, but to me, I don't like it when it's done in excess. It's why I feel so bad for Steven Universe, because they don't want to leak all their shit. It's Cartoon Network that leaks all their shit. And it sucks because when you get spoiled that much, it makes actually watching the thing no longer enjoyable. And because it's like, you know how it's going to end. So I think it depends on what it is. I don't doubt that it can make people want to read it more, but, it's a tricky thing. Where would I find your stories? I know you have characters on your DA. DA, that's pretty much it. Or Tapas, I guess, if you want to read Seven Sins of the Baby, but that's about it. Or I guess too, if you want Patreon, that's where I sometimes occasionally spoil stuff or like small things. Which of your Looniverse characters would win a chess boxing match? It's a real thing, trust me. Well, I wouldn't know because I don't know what chess boxing is, so I got no idea. Now I want to just go through my playlist and see if I can find all of my characters' theme songs. Let me see. The Phoenix is essentially what inspired one of my other stories. I have a few stories that were like entirely inspired by a single song. Chess boxing is a new game by The Odds Ones Out. Well, I've never seen it, so whoops. How did you come up with Seven Sins and a Baby? I thought of a funny ass title that I thought was funny, and I just rolled with it. That's genuinely how it came into existence. Don't Mess With Me by Tempo Shark is also a good one for Solar. What do you think about working for networks like Disney or Cartoon Network? I personally wouldn't work with them because then your stories become their property. They do if you're not careful. Listen, to me nowadays, I don't think a lot of companies understand, like, oh God. Oh, Lord. I could go on I don't want to go on a whole tangent about this in this stream, but like, to me it makes me so frustrated because for a lot of companies, not all of them, but for a lot of networks, when you give your story for them, when they change your story for publishing or they make you change your story for publishing, they focus on where the numbers show things and they don't really pay attention to how actual story creating works. And that's the reality. They know business, they don't know creativity. That's just the reality of things. That's why they will make you change something if it will be controversial. They will make you it's the whole thing with Steven Universe, the fact that they have like gay themes in their shows, it's censored in other countries, which is also another reason why I say that, like, when people get frustrated that like, why do they only imply this gay thing and why don't they make it an actual thing? Well, because it will get censored in other countries. Surprise. But yeah, but like with networks, they focus on where the numbers go. It's why with fucking Steven Universe, it's why these bombs keep happening. The crew has already made their show. They can post the episodes. Cartoon Network won't let them because, the first time we did a Steven bomb, we got so many views and so much good, like, attention and money from it. So obviously if we keep doing it, it'll work out great. Because that's what they do. They follow the money. They don't know how actual creativity works. They don't know how actual appeal works. That's why a lot of shows, when they're only network driven and they are not driven by someone passionate about the project, that's why they become shit. That's why you have so many reboots. Because it's like, this made money before, we can do it again. Now, I will say this. There are plenty of reboots that are created by passionate fans who want to recreate something they care dearly about. That's actually why I'm not going to talk about it, but the whole controversy between the whole, the new, like, the Lions, what was it? Shit. You know what I'm talking about. The most recent, like, thing that was going to get rebooted. And they were going to make it, like, something Roar, and it was, like, really cartoony, and everyone was super mad about it. Yeah, Thundercats, that's what it is. Why was I thinking Lions? What the fuck? Anyway, but, Thundercats. To me, when I looked at that stuff, and I looked at the people creating it, it was obvious they weren't creating it. The people making it weren't in it for just the money. They wanted to because they were passionate about it. That was obvious to me, just as a creator. And God, and people got so mad because, you're ruining my childhood, and I can't, listen, I don't like the amount of reboots myself, Lion-O's the main character, so yeah, thanks. So make me feel not so bad about it. But like, listen, I don't. For one thing, people make a lot of reboots because people are so obsessed with their childhoods, for one thing, and people also get super picky with ideas and like stuff like that. But gosh, people make reboots. There are a lot of companies who do make reboots for money. That is true. But like some people make reboots because they have genuine ideas. There's Voltron was recreated to be something better than it was, And when people like act like, oh, you're ruining my childhood because you dare try to basically make something new out of something, and that irritates me a lot because people get so nostalgia blind by things. And that's not to say that there are certain reboots that are bad. Like Powerpuff Girls compared to the new one, I will say, in my opinion, just comparing the two side by side, original Powerpuff Girls is definitely better, in my opinion. But also the new Powerpuff Girls also isn't all bad. I've watched a few episodes and there are some clever things and there are some animations that are really good, and it clearly wasn't lazy, So like with the whole Thundercats reboot thing, I just like, to me, I got so frustrated that so many, and oh my god, what drove me crazy? That everyone was so angry about the fucking art style. Like, they were so angry about this, quote, cow art style. It looks like all the others. A, I could look at that thing and tell it was different. B, everyone was so mad that they dare make a female character less feminine. Just to, like, seriously, why do people care? And then, like, 3, to be honest, everyone always talks about this other kind of version of it being, like, better art style-wise. I strongly disagree. So, you know what? You can fight me. Like, because to me, I looked at it, I actually liked the art style. And when I saw the animations for it, I thought it was pretty cute. Like, really sad they kicked out Miss Bellum, though. I am too. I was really upset they kicked her out because I liked her. Yeah, I thought the art style was cool. Like, I didn't see, like, a lot of it because I just didn't entirely care at the time. But I saw, like, a little advertisement for Thundercats Roar. And to me, the animation was really good. Like, it was really, like, just from an animation standpoint, it was very fluid. It was really, like, well-moving and stuff. It wasn't that stiff. And I thought it was really cute. And I think, like, just looking at it, and obviously they're appealing a little bit more to kids, which I don't understand why people didn't get that. And again, I'm not going to say that, like, kids equal everything, but clearly they were making the show to be a little bit more targeted towards kids, and most kids don't really like the whole super realistic comic book style animation that the last version had. Which again, to me, personally, I like this one a lot more than that one. You can disagree with me with that, but personally, I just didn't like that old kind of style. To me, it just kind of looked a little weird. But, so, see, and Brendan, you can have your opinion on that. I personally don't like the old art style for the last reboot they did, and I personally liked it. And if people don't, that's fine, but I don't get why people were acting as if their art style not being appealing to them was the downfall of the show. Because really, art style is not the downfall. Now, obviously, it can be. If an art style genuinely hurts your eyes to look at, that's going to make people turn off the show. But, like, the fact that people, like, shut it down and tried to tear it apart because, like, people just tore it apart because they just didn't like the idea of a reboot, and that a lot of people didn't like the art. And to me, that's just so frustrating. And I'm like, see, this is why people go where the money is, because clearly having, like, your own passions and making your own creative choices don't work because people just tear you apart. And I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong. People are allowed to have their own opinions. Reasonable, those are slandered for eyes, 100%. Yeah. And again, like, I don't think it's wrong. I think it's totally okay if people don't like that art style. I do. But I think it was just, it's horrible that people didn't even like, that there were so many people who didn't even give the show a fucking chance before they said it's obviously going to be trash. And it's like, again, I'm not going to say it is or isn't because I don't know. I haven't seen it. Neither has anybody else. So, you know, it just, God, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I told everybody I wasn't going to go on a tangent, but I went on a tangent. So, yeah, I don't know. I wish people would, like, I know that, like, reboots are getting a bad reputation at this point, but, like, I wish people would, I won't lie, there are a lot of reboots who get, like, a really bad rep because people are just too nostalgia blind, but that's another story entirely. Oh, goodness. Yeah, you know what, you know what? Since that person commented that, I want to mention this too. What's also funny is people don't seem to realize that the reason why they might have liked something more was because they were a kid. So now that they're an adult, they were so connected on it being their childhood, like, story that, like, obviously everything else must be terrible. Here's the thing. You liked it when you were a kid because you liked it. Like, you liked it when you were a kid. So as an adult, if you would have seen that same thing as an adult and not seen it as a kid, how do you know you would have liked it? Because you didn't see it as a kid. But we get so emotionally attached to it as a kid that when we grow up, we become so nostalgic that, like, there's no way it could possibly be bad. You know, it must still be good in our eyes. This ruined my childhood, yeah. Nostalgia is a funny thing, and people don't seem to realize that it's really easy to be blinded by your nostalgia. So, you know. Yay. But yeah, so anyway, I need to stop talking about it. I wasn't supposed to get controversial in a stream. Oh, goodness. I need water at some point. I've been talking for a while. I've been talking for a long time. Oh, God. I also hate it when people go, the fandom ruined the blank. Yeah, I did too, just because it's like, listen, the fandom can only ruin it if you let it ruin it for you. Like, seriously. You know, and it's just, God. His streams are always controversial in some way. I love it. It's hard not to be. Nostalgia goggles are powerful. They are indeed. I really liked FNAF before all the shippers. Well, I still like FNAF as its own thing. I don't care if people have their own interpretations. I don't fucking care if people ship the characters. It doesn't affect my life. I just got in here and I know this has been asked, but are you still doing the character reviews? Not right now. No. Sorry. I said at the beginning of the stream, and that might be annoying, sorry, but does lack of spaghetti make you depressy? No. See, I don't know how to respond to memes, guys. Like, help. I still like FNAF 2. It's a good game and a story. Yeah, I agree. I like FNAF. And I like that, like, every game has progressively got better, and it's a similar concept to keep them all tied together, but it's, like, not the same thing every time, and I like that. I liked FNAF, but they kind of got worse with every game, to be honest. See, I disagree. I personally liked it for, like, I liked it more the further it got. I thought it was scarier the further you got because it was a new thing. He's your favorite villain that you can talk about in Seven Sins and a Baby and Looniverse. In Seven Sins and a Baby, God. See, that one's complicated because technically my villains for periods of times are good guys, quote unquote. Like, technically by that, I could say that Kai is my favorite villain in Seven Sins and a Baby because he is temporarily an antagonist. But you know, so since this is a baby, that's a bit trickier because a lot of characters are antagonists for a period of time. Then in Luniverse, oh gosh. Well, I mean, I like Solar because he is like my true evil bastard who's just bad and evil and irredeemable, which I don't have a lot of those. Other than that, God. See, my favorite villain, I love her. I love her because she's a spoiler. I love her because she's a spoiler, and that makes me sad. But sorry, I was listening for something. But I love her because technically the entire part of why I love her is because you're not supposed to know she's a villain. So, and it turns out, haha, she is a villain because plot twist. Ludiverse actually has like serious life pertaining messages in it. So, you know, wink wonk, but yeah. So I can't talk about my favorite Luniverse villain, cries. Oh, goodness. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna type a thing. Ignore me. I gotta be a cute twink right now. That sounds terrible out of context. Oh, God. Let me think. Felicity is a villain confirmed. Oh, goodness. No, she's not a villain. Luckily, or everyone would die. I actually... Oh, shit. That'd be really cute. Shit. To have, like, Felicity have, like, a Halloween costume that's, like, a Disney villain. Like a fucking, like like she's dressed as Maleficent or something like that. That'd be adorable. Shit. Oh, I gotta do that. Kill me. I gotta draw Felicity as a Disney villain. Oh, God. Do you get annoyed when people compare your characters to other ones? Sometimes it depends. Oftentimes I get frustrated when people overdo it and that's all they can possibly say. God, one time I had a character and I made him and I designed him just to be historically accurate. And everyone started saying, oh my God, he looks like Alexander Hamilton from the musical. And I was like, the first time I was like, oh, haha, yeah, I could see that. How did that happen? But then like 10 people, no, not even 10, like 15 people said the same thing, despite the fact that you could easily look at the comment right before yours and see someone already said it. And they just kept going, and it really ticked me off. Because it's just, when it's the same thing over and over again, you're like, all right, I get it. I'm glad to know this is all you see in this character. But, you know, whatever. But, like, at the same time, though, I don't... Oh, it doesn't ruin my day necessarily. Like, again, I have compared characters of mine to other characters. Like, for example, I have a character who I realized, it's so funny, he does not look anything like Voldemort, but his backstory is his origin story is essentially Voldemort, and that kills me. And so, like, There's shit like that I think is hilarious, like comparing characters like to other things that I just think is funny. But usually, honestly, I probably find it more fun when, like, I zoned for a second. I find it more fun when I compare characters where their personalities are the same as opposed to just their appearance. You know, like, hey Zodiac, I got this body's good. It's such a good book, Neon the Cat. I love it so much. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, so I don't mind my characters necessarily being compared to others because sometimes it can be funny, but like I hate it when that's all people ever say and it's like, you know, what Disney villain would Felicity cosplay as? I feel like it would either be like Maleficent. She'd be really cute. Ursula. She'd be a really cute cosplaying as Ursula. Fuck. Oh, I'm gonna have to just draw her as all Disney villains. Oh, God. How do you feel about people who draw bad anatomy and say it's just their style? It depends, because here's the thing. It depends whether or not it is a consistent thing. To determine whether it's something style, like someone's style or not, it depends on whether it is a consistent thing that they seem to constantly be choosing and where they could draw it differently if they tried, like if they wanted to, but they, like, for example, I'll just use this because it's a perfect example. A good example of where an anatomy choice is in fact a stylistic choice and it is not just a anatomy flaw is like Mitchie, Twisted Disaster. She draws characters with 4 fingers, which is not, like, that's not an anatomy mistake. That's just how she likes to draw those. She likes drawing them with 4 fingers. So that's a good example of like an actual stylistic choice as opposed to just a flaw in anatomy. But like there is definitely a difference. And honestly, what I always say when it comes to like critique versus it's just my style is that if your style, quote unquote, is preventing you from drawing things differently or is preventing on you from trying new things, then your style needs to change. I don't care if it's your style. If you aren't even daring, like if you would never dare try to draw something differently and even experiment with it, then your style needs to change, you know? Don't matter if you like, you know, that's just how I believe, because that's not, at that point, it's not a stylistic choice. It's you just choosing not to improve, in a sense, you know? So, yeah. Speaking of cosplay, have you ever cosplayed? If you have, who was it? If you're ever planning to. I have not cosplayed. I've kind of wanted to, but I don't have that kind of commitment either. I have wanted, honestly, if I ever cosplayed, I probably would end up cosplaying one of my characters, my own characters. Like one of them I really want to cosplay is Kai, because I love Kai, and I want to wear his outfit, okay? To go with Disney villain Felicity, I suggest Vanessa as Dr. Palliser. Oh gosh, I love me some Disney villains. Disney villains are a good time. Do you like Greek mythology? I'm absolutely obsessed with it. Hell yeah, I love Greek mythology. I love me some Greek mythology. Well, it is hard to talk with people because everybody always hears like different myths and stuff, so it's always weird talking about it with people because it's like, you know, people will hear different interpretations and different stories because like there's always multiple stories for, you know. Oh no. Would you rather kill off Gabe or Dimitri from Crackland? Here's the thing. I feel like if either of them died, the other one would just die too, for one reason or another. Especially if Dimitri died. If Dimitri died, I feel like Gabe would just stop existing. As morbid as that sounds, that's just how they are. They're good boys, I swear. They just have some major dependency issues. Is it okay to have a character who's a little shit and just happens to be gay? I mean, yeah. That's totally fine. My personal favorite is the story of Persephone and Hades, and nobody I know reads mythologies have nobody really. I love that too. It's a good. I like the version where they both were in love with each other, of course. I less like the version where it was all just one-sided, but that's just my own personal opinion because I think it's cute. And I also, it makes me sad because Zeus was a hoe and Poseidon was a hoe, and then and then Hades was the only one who wanted to be loyal to his wife. Anyway. You got any advice for making comic panels look nice as a page and not a cluster mess of boxes? Well, like formatting, you know? Like there's formatting it and stuff like that. Planning out where they go and things like that. What's the weirdest thing I've ever seen? I mean, I don't know. Nothing really. I mean, I've probably seen something weird, but nothing jumps out at me. Okay, but all Greek mythology problems are because Zeus is a thought. This is true. This is a fact. Everything happens because Zeus is just a thought. It always starts with him fucking someone. Oh, Lord. It's the weirdest conversation you've ever made your characters have. Oh, God. Well, like, because there's weird ones that could hypothetically happen. I guess the weirdest one that I've ever actually wrote was in my novel that I need to edit. Because there was a part where it's like fucking... Because one of the characters is a mermaid and the other one's not. And she's, like, kind of drunkish. And she basically asks her, like, so how do mermaids make babies if you're all girls? Like, and... It's such a funny fucking conversation that happened out of nowhere. If you like Greek mythology, I suggest the webcomic Lore Olympus. It's a modern retelling of Persephone and Hades stories with a modern twist, so it's great and I love it. Well, cool. That's cool. What would happen if the Luniverse crew went to Disneyland or another small park? Chaos. Like, oh god, just madness. Because they wouldn't be able to stick together for 5 seconds. They'd all go off doing their own thing. And then, like, fucking Infinity probably wouldn't be able to go on any of the rides because she's Infinity. Oh, Lord. And then, yep. Any tips on how to write good dialogue when writing a story? For one thing, I would say is, okay, a really good piece of advice I'd say is when you want to have your character have a conversation, as weird as it sounds and as crazy it's going to make you look, talk it with yourself. Or, like, just talk it out loud, as weird as it sounds. Because if you say it out loud, you can find what sounds natural. Because that's an issue a lot of stories have with writing dialogue, is where they make it sound so unnatural and not like a conversation anybody would have. And obviously, okay, 1 minute. I'm going to have to leave in a second. But, you know, so, there is a lot of, so honestly, like, obviously do you have to take in dialects and you do have to take in, like, time period and personality and whatnot. But generally, if you talk the dialogue out loud, it will be, like, the most surefire way to figure out what sounds natural and what sounds, like, really not natural and sounds, like, super cringy and out of place. And, I mean, sometimes you do have to have, like, those little bits of dialogue that sound bad because it's a story progressor. But generally, if you say it out loud, that will be super helpful. And sometimes don't flesh out your dialogue bit by bit. Sometimes it's a good idea to just... like, have an idea to get to point A to point B in a conversation and let the conversation flow that way. Because generally, when you talk, even if you come into a conversation super serious, it usually lightens up by the end. Or sometimes you can start a conversation super lighthearted and fun. It gets really dark and serious. That happens all the time. But yeah, so with that, I gotta go eat food. So thank you guys for coming to the stream. And I will see you next time. Smeeches, goodbye.